are you?
Good. Where in the world are you today?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. Okay, we're having a Texas day. I just interviewed an artist in Dallas, Fort Worth. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm heading there this week for work. So trying to stay safe because it's crazy coronavirus here in Texas.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're having this sort of similar craziness here in Mexico City as well. The infection rate just keeps going up, and everything is open, and it seems a little crazy right now.
Yeah, I've been at home ever since the rates start going back up. Well, shoot, I've been at home. I've worked from home since January anyway. But unless I really need to go out and do something, it's pretty much the basics, and then I'm home. There's really nothing else. So we'll see how it plays out. But
yeah, I think we're so lucky though that we have our artistic practices and studio practices that we can focus on, because I have watched everything on Netflix 3 times over.
Yeah.
so having the studio to escape to is really a blessing in itself.
Yes.
To having that kind of work to do. So. Have you been able to continue working during the pandemic, or?
Yes. So my full-time job, I'm a lawyer. So
okay.
I practice law, and then for about the first 3 months, I didn't do any art really. I just kind of did some stuff out in my studio, just made like some jackets, stuff like that. And after that, I kind of started working stuff back in a little bit. But every time that I do work with a client, it's always social distancing. I have my Canon large lens, so I don't really have to get that close. And if I do need to paint someone, this, that, and a third, the whole time that we're doing it, we're both wearing masks just to make sure to have that extra protection. But I've been fine as long as I wear the mask and I do the social distancing. I can still do what I need to do. But I have had some people, which is pretty weird to me, who were pretty much said the virus was a scam, this, that, and third, and that they refused to wear any type of mask and do any type of social distancing. And I told them, thanks for, reaching out to me, but unfortunately, we're just not a good fit to work together, because I'm not going to put my health and safety at risk because of what they believe and what they do, because it's just not worth it. So
yeah. There's a lot of unique perspectives out there that don't seem to be really based in reality, but reality is a challenging concept anyway.
Exactly.
So how long have you been working as a photographer?
I started actually during law school. Actually, let me take that back. Back in 2005, I was the photographer for a summer camp that I worked at. So that was my first time getting my hands on a DSLR camera and just kind of playing around with it, learning it. I really didn't know. I had the eye, but I didn't know how to work the camera. It was essentially shoot on automatic, just take some nice pictures, that type of stuff. I was also yearbook editor in college. I got to play with the camera a little bit, but not too much because we had a photographer for that. And then once I got into law school, my first semester, I, after all the studying and reading, this, that, and the third, I realized I needed some type of outlet. So that November of 2007, I went into Best Buy and bought my first DSLR Canon Rebel. I bought the pack for $800, and that was my biggest investment. And then after that, just started taking pictures, just taught myself everything, learning how to work the camera, playing around with it. I did a study abroad that summer in London, and every weekend we went to a different country in Europe. So I had my camera with me the whole time, just shooting, learning, playing around, things like that. And then I would say it has been about 4 years ago was when I first did my first studio shoot. For 9 years, I was terrified of studio lighting. I didn't want to learn it. I thought it was complicated. Finally took that jump, rented a studio, fell in love with it, ended up getting my studio equipment, and I've been going since then.
Wow, that's great. And when did you start doing the body painting elements of your work?
I would say about 3 years ago. So about early 2017. No, it was actually, April 2017. One of my best friends since college, she was looking at my work, and she's one of those people, whenever she says something, you listen, because she's very intuitive like I am. And she was like, your work is good, but you're not where you're supposed to be. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And she was like, I don't know. But she was like, you're like everyone else right now. You need to do something that kind of makes you stand out. You need to take more risk, take more chance. You need to do something crazy. And I was like, I don't know what that means. So I started adding different props, started different types of shoots, things like that. She was like, you're going in the right direction, but you're still not there. And after about 3 months, I became so frustrated that literally I just walked into Michael's and was like, I'm just gonna buy some paint and just figure out what the hell I'm gonna do. And I just, something said, just start painting people, just start making them into these different things. And then she was like, there you go. And then from there on out, it's just up, 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 up. And it started to pull me apart from all the other photographers, because most other photographers, they usually have a team, a makeup artist, somebody who's going to do the body art, somebody who does the editing, a stylist, somebody who's going to run and manage the shoot. I do it all. So I've taught myself how to do all those pieces. So when a lot of models come to me, they're pretty much confused, because they're like, well, where's everybody else at to do all this stuff? And I was like, I do it. And they were like, wait, you do I was like, yeah. I was like, I make the props. Anything that I want to do, like the wings, things like that, I construct it. I learned how to do it. Fabricate everything. And it just forced me to be the creative that I'm supposed to be and teach myself how to do it. So I just learned how to do it. I figure it out, and here I am now.
And how do you find your models? Do they find you, or?
It's kind of I would say a mixture of everything. I have people that Instagram is a big one. People always find me on Instagram. When they find my work, they'll reach out to me. I even had a guy this morning that wanted to, same thing. He found me, was like, I love your work. I want to shoot with you. Facebook. So big time social media is a lot of people, website traffic. I would say that too. Word of mouth, especially from a lot of the different models and a lot of different communities. They'll like, I heard about, your work. I've seen it. I would love to work with you, things like that. So it's a mixture of a lot of different sources.
Great. And so have you, is the work that you're producing now with the social distancing and everything, is that changing your relationship to the models? Because I can imagine there's some tension there, and all your models seem so comfortable, and like you've managed to pull a lot of feeling out of them too. So,
well, that's a part of my process, and that's so whenever a model wants to work with me, so let me take this back. The past 3 years, I have learned a lot about this industry, about how people are in general. Besides being an attorney, I also have my master's in HR. So I understand how to manage people, understand how to connect with people. So anytime that a model wants to work with me, they actually have to complete an application. It takes about 5 minutes, and it's a Google form, and it asks some basic questions. It gathers information, social media platforms. So I can get usernames. I need your full name, date of birth, all that type of good stuff. And then I ask very targeted questions because I want to see who you are. So do you have an agent? Are you represented by a modeling agency? Have you canceled a shoot before? If so, tell me why. Have you asked for images to be removed from you after you took a shoot and decided you wanted them to be removed after that they were released? Things like this. I'm trying to figure out what makes them tick, and then also what their character is like. 3 years ago, I also developed my core values, my personal core values, and also for my business. Those are loyalty, honor, respect, honesty, and humility. If you don't have those, I just can't do business with you, because that is my foundation. And I've even had models straight up tell me, I'm sorry, I can't adhere to what you stand by. And, it's sad, because those are pretty much the basics, but I would rather someone be honest with me up front, because if you can't do those, then we won't be a good fit to work together.
Sure.
Once they complete the form, I go through it. I look at what they've done. I look at their portfolio, all that type of stuff. Because if their portfolio is pretty much the same and I haven't seen any growth over the past year or 2 years, I typically tell them no. Because I need people who are going to take chances. Because that form, you select whatever type of shoot you want to do. Because that way you set the boundaries. This is what I'm okay with. And I make sure that, because like I said, respect is one of my core values. That is the foundation. I am going to respect whatever you chose and whatever you're comfortable with. We select from that list. Once you come into my shoot, for about 15 minutes to an hour, we sit there and we talk. I want to figure out who you are. What makes you tick? What's going on in your mind? What are you going through at that moment? Because if I just hop them into the studio and just start shooting them. It's really awkward and uncomfortable because people, they're not used to me and I'm not used to them. And they're not gonna open up. They're gonna do the typical, this is what a model's supposed to do, this is how I'm supposed to look, boom, boom, boom. I don't do that. So I take my time to figure out who they are, flush that out, start to peel away those layers of that onion and figure out who they are at their core. So once someone is comfortable with me, then I get to get them in front of the camera, and then that's where the vulnerability comes out. That's when they truly start to see who they are, and they start to tackle some stuff that they never thought that they were really dealing with because they've always put it to the side or they've just ignored it. I've had people cry in my shoots. I've had people literally have these emotional breakdowns and these epiphanies because they're like, wow, I've been doing that. Or a lot of people get inspired because I want more now, because I never realized I was capable of doing something just by allowing myself to let someone in that I can actually trust. And shoot, people realize they actually can trust someone. The world is a little bit different because for me, it's very personal when I make my art. It's like making a baby with someone. Like, I want to make sure that that person that I'm working with, that we are on the same wavelength so that when moving forward, I can put that work out there. Because I'll be honest, if you're a shitty person, I'm not going to promote the art. Like, I have buried, I can't tell you how many shoots because they just weren't good people. And I'm not going to put those people at the forefront when I know how they treat others. And that's a problem to me. So, some of the best pieces.
It does come out in the artwork. I mean, I do, at least in the work that you're presenting. I mean, I've seen this style of photography before where body painting is used. What appealed to me about the work when I saw it was there was a spirit of liveliness in the work, and I was like, something's happening between the model and the photographer. Like he's doing something different because it could feel very commercial, but there's this level of intimacy in the work.
And that's what I want. And that's the thing I tell each of my models. Because when they step in and try to do that editorial, very bland, this, that, and third, I'll literally will stop the shoot and say, what are you doing? And they're like, well, what? I was like, no. I said, when someone looks at this image, I want them to feel something. Like, they should look at it and they should connect with you and be like, whoa. Like, they want to keep, you want to draw a person in to the point of where they're looking at the piece of art and it literally captivates them. They can't stop looking at it because every time you look at it, you see something different. And you want to figure out, who is this person? What is their story? What you want to dive in deeper. And that's what the point, that's what I make, I'm so hell-bent on when I do that shoot, and because I have to have that connection with my model. So like I said, it goes through a process, and I've learned to trust my intuition because from the jump, if something is off, even when I get that form and it says don't do it, I've learned to listen, don't do it, don't take a chance, because, and then a lot of people, honestly, they're just not ready. I've had people wait 2 years and I straight up told them, you're not ready to work with me. And they're like, well, I don't get it, this, that, third. I was like, you're just not ready. And 2 years later, they reach out and they'll be like, now I understand what you're talking about. You had to grow a little bit. You had to learn, mature. There's things you got to be ready, because to do this level of art, it's completely different than just walking in, doing some regular shoot, with put on a jacket, model, this, that, and a third. You have to be ready for it, because if you're not, it's a waste of both of our time. So.
Sure. And I mean, particularly, I mean, there's a difference between shooting fashion, because it's really more about the product of the clothing that's sort of put onto the model. But in this instance, there's this like sort of energy that comes out of it. And I think what really makes it work is that relationship, that intimacy. So your relationship with the models is really, really key there. And it shows in so many of the images. I was just like, I'm like, wow, I mean, I like looking at your Instagram feed just because it pops when it comes up into my timeline. And then but when I look at it, like if I'm not feeling good and I go look at your work, I'm feeling better after looking at it. You're really adding something very positive into the universe there. So
that's
kudos to you.
Thank you, because I'll tell you a little story about the background of this. When my best friend told me about what I needed to do and how to do it, I was concerned because being back then a baby attorney, paying off student loans, hardly had any money, but I knew that I was supposed to do this. And one day, the firm I was working at, they called us in on a Saturday to work. And I was looking on my phone for photography equipment because I needed a strobe light. I just needed one. But I knew I could not afford the $300 at that moment just to buy one light and then go buy the stand, buy all the equipment. I just didn't have the money for it. So I was looking and I accidentally spelled photography equipment wrong. I don't know how it happened, but I was typing so fast on the app and I literally spelled it wrong on 5 Mile. And it pulled up a result. Somebody had accidentally spelled it wrong exactly the same way that I did, and it hit. And I was like, what is this? And it said photography equipment, spelled completely wrong the way I did, $100. And it was just these 2 gray totes. And I was like, what? What is that? So I messaged the lady and I said, hey, do you know if you have any strobe lights? And she was like, I don't know what those are. And I was like, well, can you just open up the totes and just take a picture of what's in there? And so I can see. And she's like, oh, sure, no problem. She opens it up, sends me the photo. There are 6 strobes in there.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. I literally tell my lead at work, I was like, I'm leaving. I have to go. I am sorry. I'll be back whenever. I don't know, but I have to go right now. And she's like, are you okay? I was like, I gotta go. So I literally am on like the 30th floor of the downtown Dallas in the skyscraper. My heart is beating. I get to the lobby. All my coworkers are down there doing something. They're like, where are you going? I was like, I'll see you tomorrow, maybe. I don't know. I got to go. I'm running. I hop in my truck, and this lady is north of Fort Worth. So I'm probably about 45 minutes to an hour away. And I knew that if I did not go then, that they might get sold from underneath me because it's happened before. And I was like, I cannot miss this deal. I will never forgive myself. Right. So I'm probably going 90. And I'm just like, oh, my God, and I never drive that fast at all, but my heart's just racing. And I finally get there and I was like, I'm here. And she was like, calm down. She goes, as soon as you told me you were coming, I marked them as sold. So they're yours. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she was like, let me show you what I have. She brings me into her garage. She has the 2 totes, opens up everything. There are stands, there are backdrops, there are anything, extension cords, everything, clamps, everything to set up a full studio I have. And wow. She said this to me, and I will never forget these words because when she said it, I literally start to cry. And she said, I know how much this equipment is worth. She goes, it's probably a good $5,000 worth of stuff here. She goes, my father was a traveling photographer. He died in 2014. I've had this sitting in my garage for 2 years. I was not ready to part with it, but I am now. She goes, it was time to put it out there because I know the person who was supposed to get this equipment is going to do something great to change the world with it. That person is you. This is yours. It's $100. You have everything you need to do to make your career happen. That's amazing. I was like, are you serious? And I was just like, wow. From that moment on, I knew that that's what I was supposed to be doing. And that's the reason why I've been so hell-bent about just getting my art out there. The reason why I'm moving to LA at the end of the year, because I'm going to work with the studios and do stuff out there. Like, I have to make this happen because I know this is what I'm supposed to do.
That's awesome. Awesome. So you're changing locations. I had seen something. I thought I saw something in your Instagram feed, and it was like LA. And then I was like, wait, is he in Houston? Or is he in LA? Or?
Yeah, I'm here in Houston. Well, my plan was to leave September 30th. But since I do still practice law, and that's where most of my money does come from right now, I have an interview on Monday for a contract role, which is still remote, but the role requires me to live in the state that I have my law license in. So that's Texas right now. I won't be able to sit for the California bar until early February. So I'll have probably about 6 months where I really won't be able to have the income that I need to move out there. Sure. So, cause I've been saving, but I still need a little bit more time. And if things were still going like they were supposed to, I would have been able to do it by September, but I just trying to be smart. So, if I do get this job, which I more likely will get on Monday, it's a 3-month contract that'll put me through the early November. And then I told my family I will just stay through the holidays. So that way I'll be able to see them for a little bit for the last time. And then after Christmas, literally that Monday, I will pack up, move to LA, and then spend my first New Year's in LA.
Wow,
So
that's great. How symbolic. New Year's in this brand new city, starting new.
I know, that's why I decided to make it happen.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the piece that's in the Existimos show itself?
Woo! So that one was random. A lot of pieces that I do, I really don't plan to do. It just kind of happens. People are just like, "Hey, can I come over? I'll make some art. Would you mind just painting me?" And I was like, "Hey, okay." So John is actually a friend here in Houston. He is from, I believe, Taiwan. So he's an immigrant. One of the hardest working people that I've ever met. He is a massage therapist, and he literally worked his way through massage school while working at a restaurant, just paying for that, going to school, working at night, doing this, that, and the third. And he's also a bodybuilder. So he came out as gay, and his family really did not take it well. Like, they have literally cut off everything from him. Like, they don't speak to him really. His mom told him it was a sin, this, that, and the third. Like, it really hit him hard. But he was like, I need to express who I am, and I'm comfortable with who I am. And he was like, I want to do this shoot with you because this is so important to me. It's basically my coming out piece. And I do that a lot with a lot of different models. So for him, I was just like, I'm going to paint you the colors of the pride flag, and I'm just going to do this. And I was like, just start going through these different emotions in your head. Just let's go through these poses. And when that face came out and that with the makeup and all the body art and stuff like that, I was like, there's something about it that was different. And I couldn't put my finger on it. And that's the reason why I tired of it, because I still can't, like, there's so much going on with it. Because you can look at it and see one thing, but at another time you see something else. But it's just his, I guess, coming into himself and trying to figure out who he is. And I think that's the biggest thing about the LGBT community, is that a lot of people feel like once they become a part of the community, they have to assimilate. They have to become something that this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to like. And a lot of us aren't like that. It's like you can still have your own path, but still be a part of the community. But even inside of the community, it's hard because people are like, you're different. And it's like, we're a community of different people. It's okay to be different.
Hello.
Exactly. But you get discriminated by because you're doing different things. And that's something I ran into big time in Dallas, because I was like, I wanted to find a different way. Like, I understand there's a time and a place to party, to drink, to do this, that, and third, to have all that stuff. But there's also people out there like us who are artists. We're doctors, we're attorneys, we're people who have families, who have lives. And it's okay to showcase that piece and to put us into as pieces of art that are going to be in galleries, so people, these kids who might want to be artists, who might want to be models one day, can realize, it's okay to be something different. Than you don't have to be the go-go dancer, or you don't have to go run a bar or work at a bar. Like, there's so much more to who we are. But when you say that, people get really offended, because they're like, it's like you're attacking the community. But it's like, no, I'm trying to expand our minds and to push us past these small little boxes and limits that we set upon ourselves, because it's so frustrating. Because a lot of people get really confused when they figure out I'm a lawyer, that I have a master's in HR and I practice HR. I'm an HR consultant, and I'm a photographer. I do body art. I make art. They're just like, but how? How can you do that? And I was like, it's okay to do more than one thing. It's possible. But people think you have to do one thing. This is what it is. And anything outside of that, it's just like you're doing too much, and it makes them uncomfortable. And I want to show people there's more to life than the limits you set on yourself.
Right. And I hope that comes out in the show itself, Existimos. I mean, it's a very eclectic show, but all those are stories like yours that reveal different aspects of what it means to be queer, gay in this world. And I'm hoping that these interviews and the stories behind the pieces and stuff help other people contextualize that, because there are so many kids out there who maybe the internet is the only way that they're going to hear. And it seems like we've done a really good job of like presenting a specific kind of picture of what it means to be gay. But then there's all these stories that are just lost. There's a huge umbrella, and there's so much room for all the different aspects of who we are, you know, as human beings.
Yes.
You know, so and is there any other pieces within the show itself that have stood out to you, that you really identify with the stories that they're telling, or is it just the overarching theme of the show for you?
I would say mostly it's the theme, because that's the thing that really caught my attention. Because I'll be honest, I was on the fence literally for about, I would say, 2 or 3 weeks, and I kept looking at the call, and then I would pull back, and I was like, I think I want to do it, and then at the same time I was like, no, maybe not. I was like, what if you don't get it? Like, I always do this internal dialogue, and I hate when I do that, because I was like, I'm a person, I've learned, just take the chance. The worst thing that they
Sure.
can say is no. Like, but if you don't take the chance, you will never know. So
Right.
I just hit the point. I was like, you know what? Something, it kept pulling at me, and I said, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And I did it. And here we are today.
Right,
But
right.
I'm like, when I look at the show, I see so many different pieces. There's a lot of pieces that I've seen before, because I follow a lot of these different artists on Instagram, and I've connected with them. But one thing you can see in all of the different pieces is that each one, it has its own flavor and its own style, but at the same time, you can still see the connective thread that
Right.
goes through all of them. And that's a nod to you for curating that, to be able to see how that throughout the queer community, it's still that beautiful, it's hard to explain, because if you look at all the pieces together, it identifies and it connects, because
Right.
it's that underlying, there's a vulnerability to it, and there's a pride to it. There is I'm not going to say innocence, but there is just this point of where you're a vulnerability, where you're letting people in to see that part of you. And I think that's important, especially with queer art, because we need to be able to let people to humanize us.
Right.
And that's something that a lot of people, especially in our political climate that we live in, we're so quickly able to vilify and demonize somebody else to make them seem less than human, because if they're not, they don't have the same value as you, you don't have to respect them. So that's why people just throw people away and they dismiss them. But once you start to connect with them and you start to see their stories and start to realize they share a lot of the same struggles and life events that you do, and you start to connect with them, that's what makes people uncomfortable, because you're like, maybe I was wrong.
Right.
Maybe I'm starting to see them as who they really are, and they're having to have that internal dialogue about, do I really need to change, or is this what I really was doing? And you start to be honest with yourself. And I think art like this is what's going to help change our world and to help change hearts, because there's a lot of people who are just so, this is what it is, this is what I need to do, I'm not going to look at anything or associate with people who are different. And I think that's what's hurting us. So this show is important to kind of give hope and to give a little bit of inspiration, and to almost be like this olive branch to people who think a little bit differently, but are open to exploring who people really are, to kind of connect us a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think I mean, I went into it with the ideal of keeping it open enough in description that with just the title, We Exist, that I thought if I define it too much, I'm only going to see one story. I'm only going to, it's going to limit the scope of the stories. And so when we went to look at all the submissions, I was so thrilled to see the sincerity and that vulnerability come out in the stories that people were telling. Obviously, there are a lot of sort of standardized ways to reply to the idea of queer. And we really tried to avoid propagating the same mythology around the queer community, that it's just party, it's just, maybe it's just only an identity that is about sex, or, and then here you have all these people with, are telling stories about their children and telling stories about their gender identity and their struggles to be who they are. And to be who you are in this world it takes courage. When I saw your work, I saw that courage coming through, and I went, I go the extra step in curating. I really look at social media presence and what people are doing and who they're portraying themselves as. And I was just looking for those positivity, that sort of, energy there that really makes things possible. So congratulations, your work is really quite beautiful. And I hope that you get to produce for another 100 years.
I do too.
Thank you so much for your time today, and I hope that your light continues to shine. You're just a really, really beautiful work, and I challenge people to go follow your work and support you as well. So
I appreciate that.
And I hope that everything goes well for you in Los Angeles, and I can't wait to see how the change in environments and everything changes your work and evolves you even further. So.
I'm ready. I'm ready to grow.
I know, and it's so funny in this time of like the quarantine and everything. It's like it's a challenging time to think about the future.
Yes.
So to have that plan in place and to move towards it, I commend you and support you wholly. So
thank you so much.
And I hope if you ever decide to come to Mexico City that you'll stop in here as well. Love to do a project with you. So.
Oh, definitely. Before everything got pretty bad, that was one of my plans. As soon as I got into the show, one of my good friends here is from Mexico. So he's a fellow attorney, and he was like, we're going, I don't care. He was like, I will pay for it. We were going to Mexico to go see this, to go see your work. So he was hell-bent on making it happen. So as soon as things get together, we'll definitely, we'll come back to Mexico. I love Mexico. So yeah, definitely we'll be there.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Be safe.
Of course. Thank you. Oh, definitely. I will try. Bye.
Bye.